Hi, Adam.
Hey, Tanya, how are you?
Very well, thank you. So which location do you join us from today?
I am right now at our Hell's Kitchen location on 53rd and 9th.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, we'll get straight to it. And before we get into it, I want to encourage all our viewers to drop a comment in a question in the comment section. Our Forbes social media team will be fielding those. So whether you're another small business owner, another restaurant owner, or even a concerned customer who has a question for Adam, feel free to drop it in and we'll get to those as soon as possible. But first, let's get to Adam. Adam, the CEO of the Meatball Shop, here to talk about the new normal for the restaurant industry. So of course, as I was mentioning to our readers as we were waiting for you to join us, was that you opened first in 2010 and now have 4 locations in Manhattan, 1 in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, and you've since become a beloved eatery for local New Yorkers. And the Meatball Shop is just as fun as it sounds, fun menu, fun dishes, but unfortunately, as much as I wish this was a live cooking demo, this is more so focused on the state of the restaurant industry, what it's like to run an eatery as the coronavirus continues to wreak havoc on businesses small and large in your sector. So first, Adam, can you give us a behind the scenes of what it was like the past 3 to 4 weeks? First of all, how are you? How is your team? How is your staff?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking, Tanya, and thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. We are doing okay. This pandemic really shifted our business literally overnight. It happened, in a span of a day. We went from being able to operate at 50% capacity to the following day essentially being shut down. So we've needed to shift every area that we operate this business, the staffing levels, obviously the safety and sanitation of our team and our guests. We're still adapting and changing every single day. There's not a day that goes by over the past 3 weeks that we haven't had to shift some area of our business in order to either comply with some new regulations or to continue to ensure that we're doing the best that we can do to keep everyone safe. But yeah, it's been a little bit of a crazy wild ride, as I'm sure you and your viewers can imagine.
Sure. So I recently spoke with Tom Colicchio, who is a leader of the Independent Restaurant Coalition, and he said from his point of view, he decided to shut down altogether. And that was because not only from a business standpoint, it just didn't make sense economically to continue as a delivery and takeout service, but also just for the safety of his employees and customers. But what went behind weighing the pros and cons to stay open for you and your restaurant group?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, shout out to Tom. If he's watching by chance, he should hop on as well. I used to work with Tom, actually. Amazing chef, talented, great all-around guy. I think that first off, there's different levels of restaurants, as we all know, in the space, everything from fast food all the way up to super fine dining. Some of those business models are not necessarily for delivery and takeout. And so the shift for them would be super difficult, could be very time consuming, everything down to the appropriate packaging in order to do that. They just don't have those things ready. And to kind of undertake that with a limited team is very difficult. I know Tom, like myself, laid off almost all of our employees. And then to try to shift from a full service restaurant that wasn't really doing a lot of delivery into a delivery only model is tough. And from that standpoint, I probably would agree with that decision that Tom made and others have made necessarily. For us, the Meatball Shop has always had a strong delivery business. Meatballs travel well. They're super comforting. They last a long time. They could be reheated very simply. And so people have always gotten, our food to go. So it's really shifting the mindset to that's the only way that you can get the Meatball Shop right now is to go. You can't come into the restaurants. But I think that for a quick service, a QSR environment, a fast casual environment, some of the restaurants that are better equipped to do takeout or grab and go are the ones that are able to stay open right now. The ones that are full service that did very limited takeaway, it's a very difficult thing to undertake.
Yeah, well, can you paint a picture for us? How many restaurants did you have before the outbreak and how much per location now?
We're down about 75% of our revenues. We're not making money, but for us, I didn't really mention this before in your previous question, but the decision when we weighed the pros and cons of whether to stay open or not, we really looked to our team, and our team are the ones that wanted to stay open. Our managers and chefs, they wanted to feed the community. They wanted to keep doing the work that we've been doing at the Meatball Shop of giving a sense of normalcy to people's daily lives. I mean, everybody's life is affected by this. People are stuck at home, they're bored, they feel isolated, they feel lonely. And we wanted, as a collective team, we thought we could help that with, you could always get meatballs. That's comforting. Sorry, I am in New York City, the siren. So, when my team was all on board to do this, I was like, okay, we're going to do this. And so essentially, right now, we're able to cover the cost of our payroll and our food and our vendors that we're currently using right now. We think it's important to continue to pay people that we can pay, and so that we can help, continue to boost the economy as much as possible. But it's really tough in restaurants, and it's going to continue that way.
Yes, you mentioned that this takeout and curbside model, the delivery service, it's a very difficult undertaking. Can you walk us through the stringent protocols that you must follow now in order to ensure the safety of employees and customers? It's really not that simple. Walk us through it.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's not simple. I mean, fortunately, the restaurant business has always been, specifically in New York, under the guidance of the New York Department of Public Health. And so, restaurants in general have always operated under fairly strict guidelines with regards to food service, regarding time and temperature, regarding sanitation, regarding sanitary surfaces, cross-contamination, things like that. So those are areas that we've already been ahead of the curve on, and almost every restaurant is. But the transformation to this social distancing, what we've done is we locked all of our front doors. There's no access to our physical restaurants anymore, where all the delivery drivers and anyone that's coming to pick up their food are all being served through a takeout window that's separated by a table on the interior of the space. We have hand sanitizer, Clorox wipes, sprays. That area is disinfected and cleaned after every single pickup that happens. And when we set up the restaurant, it's very interesting right now. I don't know if you can really see, but I could show you quickly. So,
go for it.
We have, all those boxes over there are essentially all takeout supplies. So we've basically shifted our entire restaurant into an assembly line of sorts. So our chef is in the kitchen. They're producing the food. They're far away from everybody else. They place the food on a secondary surface. That secondary surface is where my frontline employee will pick it up from and pack it. We'll seal up the bags, and then we'll place it on the table at the window for pickup. So that mixed with simply wiping down surfaces, no cross-contamination, no sharing of responsibilities. We have 5 restaurants in the city. We very much used to share staff. So if, my Hell's Kitchen location needed an employee, we would borrow from the West Village or from Chelsea. We've completely stopped that. We don't have anybody transferring between the restaurants anymore right now. So, that way my teams also feel extra safe in their space.
It almost sounds more exhausting than ever to eat. There's no win-win whether you shut down or remain open. It's just difficult all around for all local and independent restaurants like yours. Before I move on to questions from our audience, can you first tell us about, in addition to staying open to continue feeding your patrons, how else you're giving back to the community, including children throughout the city?
Yeah, so yes, there's a couple of things that we're doing. So Meatball Shop's always been kind of, you said before, this New York City kind of institution at this point. We've been around for 10 years. We're kind of synonymous with New York, which is amazing. Our founders, Daniel Holtzman and Michael Chernow, born and raised here in New York, 2 best friends that opened a restaurant together in their 20s. It's just a great, love story. But we've always been part of the community. And for us, that's the impetus for why we're still doing what we're doing. So, yeah, when they close schools, I mean, I have two daughters. They're not right now. Homeschool is a real thing for people. Um, and there's a lot of children that depend on meals at school, and they're not getting that right now. And so what we wanted to do is make sure that both the kids and the parents didn't have to stress about worrying about where that meal might come from. So any kid, school-age kid, can go to the Meatball Shop. You know, it gives them a reason to go for a walk. Call ahead, please. You know, place your order ahead so you're well prepared. We'll have it ready for you. But yeah, it's free, basically free spaghetti and meatballs for kids. That's one of the things we're doing. The second thing that we're doing is we've been feeding our healthcare workers and our healthcare heroes since about March 20th, delivering foods to NYU Langone, New York Presbyterian, Columbia, Lenox Hill, Mount Sinai. We've been doing that on our own for the past, I don't know, 2.5 weeks at this point. But yesterday we launched a GoFundMe page called Heroes for Heroes. And we're basically, for every $15 that someone donates, the Meatball Shop's going to match that. So that will, for every $15 someone donates, that will provide 2 meals for a healthcare worker. And just in 24 hours, we've raised already $3,000, which we're excited is going to feed another 400 healthcare workers. And I believe that number is going to keep growing. So, you know, to the viewers, please visit GoFundMe or our page on Instagram at Meatballers and check out the GoFundMe page. We would appreciate anything. These frontline workers don't know, they don't have time to eat. And oftentimes the overnight shifts, they're really limited in what they could eat. Nothing's open. And we're fixing to change that. So I'm going to get them food.
And what could be more comforting to a child or a healthcare worker right now than a bowl of spaghetti and meatballs, right?
Or a meatball sandwich, a meatball hero, yeah.
Heroes for heroes.
Yeah.
I want to get to the questions. So the first one up is, how often do restaurants prepare financially for emergencies such as this one? Is it even possible to prepare for something like this?
That's a great question. And the answer is no, barely ever, which is why you're seeing the restaurant business in such a dire need right now of help from our federal government and our state governments. We are, you know, money that comes in the door today for a restaurant is paying bills from 30 and 45 days ago. We run on very low margins. We run on very low cash flow. And that's just how restaurants in general operate. So it's really, really tough right now for any restaurant to sustain this, this type of business and this type of closure.
Yeah, this is a great question. You kind of started to answer this when you're walking us through the hygienic code, but maybe we can add on to this and provide more information. Does this change how you and your employees prepare food during this time? So have you changed the menu? What extra extreme steps do you have to take in order to ensure safety?
That's a great question. Yes, we have tweaked our menu slightly. So we've eliminated, mostly in the form of elimination of certain menu items. We have a very limited staff in all of our restaurants. So that changes the ability for the team to prep in time. And most of the work in a restaurant, you know, I would say specifically our restaurant, I won't speak for everybody, but in our restaurant, 90% of the work is done in prep. As long as we're ready to go for the day, working the line and producing the food is somewhat of the easier part because meatballs are, you know, they hold and they're great and they're easy to serve. So because we have a limited team in the restaurants, we've had to cut back the menu items so that we can make sure that they're able to prep on a daily basis. So, you know, some of our shrimp dishes and our fish dishes and some of the other things that we've been expanding with on the menu over the past year, we've had to kind of cut back on that and continue to move forward with all of our salads and our healthy sides. And we have, you know, of course, our meatballs. So you can still eat very healthy at the Meatball Shop, or you can indulge and have a, you know, bowl of pasta and meatballs.
That's great to know. So how do you think this will all change the culture of restaurants within society? How will this transform the culture and the approach toward restaurants overall?
That's a good question as well. I don't know the answer to that. Unfortunately, I don't think anyone does. I worry, you know, I don't sleep at night. You can see, you know, a little bit of the bags under my eyes, but, you know, we're all worried. We're all concerned. We are the first to come to the aid of issues that happen in our society, whether it's, Jose Andres in World Central Kitchen, whether it's what we did at the Meatball Shop from Sandy, what I did and many restaurants did in 9/11. We're able to be that place for the community to come together and help feed those people. And, now you're finding that restaurants are not able to do that. I worry that a large number of restaurants, I've heard numbers thrown around, 15%, 20% of restaurants are not going to make it. I, along with a lot of my colleagues, believe that number is going to be much higher if we don't see some help across the entire supply chain of this economy as it relates to small businesses. We need help from landlords. We need help from suppliers. We need help from the federal government. Everybody, the whole hashtag "we are in this together" couldn't be more true during this time. But, people forget that the restaurant business is the second largest employer in the United States behind the federal government. And we contribute somewhere between 4 to 5% of the GDP. This is not people take for granted oftentimes what restaurants are. And, there's chains and there's mom and pops, but we employ a lot of people. And it takes a lot of people to run a restaurant. It's a big piece of our fabric of our economy. And so, I worry. I lose sleep at night. I worry about what this is going to look like when this is all over. But the resilient will get through this. We will get through this. A lot of restaurants will get through this. When we come out the other side, I don't know what's going to change. You might see restaurants shifting to limited hours. You might see them, at least at the beginning when we start to open, maybe they're limiting capacity to keep the social distancing protocol. People are worried that this thing goes away for part of the summer and then comes back again in September. What does that look like? These are all things that we're trying to prepare for now. And, like I said before, everything's changing day by day. There's not a day that goes by where we're not trying to think of some model or strategy or plan about how this is going to move forward.
Yes, you mentioned you haven't slept. So tell us more about how this is affecting you and your staff mentally. How's it affecting your family as well?
Thank you for asking. My wife will appreciate that. She's probably watching. It's been quite hard. I was kicked out of my house about a week ago, which, I'm using a little bit of comedy we do at the Meatball Shop. But, I'm coming to the city every day. The city is kind of ground zero for the United States, and it's a scary place. But every time I would go home, that 2-week quarantine clock would restart again for my wife and my 2 kids. And I just didn't want to put them in that position and put that risk on them. So I left the house about a week ago. I've been staying in the city. It's hard. I miss my kids tremendously. I miss my wife tremendously. But, we get to, thankful for modern technology like this and FaceTime. It's amazing. I get to, read them a story at night, tuck them into bed if I can, tell me a story about their day. And hopefully this will pass pretty soon and we can get back to normal. I'm going on Friday to see them. But again, I got to see them outdoors from far away. So they'll play in the backyard and I'll sit and watch them for a little bit. But yeah, and the team, the team overall is pretty positive. Ryan, how are you feeling? Here's Ryan. Ryan, come say hi.
Hi, Ryan.
Ryan is our GM of the Hell's Kitchen shop. How you doing, bud?
Hey, how are you? I'm good.
Hi, Ryan. Welcome to...
Oh, he can't hear because I have the headphones in. But Ryan's
He seems to be in good spirits.
He is. My team's in good spirits. Listen, we talk to, so I think communication is tremendously important during this time. So, not only am I in the restaurants every day, but we have a call every single day at 3:00 with our teams that are working. It's just a daily check-in. How you doing? How you feeling? And, even play a game on that call if we don't have anything to catch up on. We played Quiplash the other day, Fibbage. We'll play an online game just to keep their spirits up. I still send them funny memes on email. They like that. And then on every Friday, we do a call with Shop Town Hall where I talk to the entire team, including those that were laid off. It's an open forum. It's completely optional. We've built a resource guide for all of our employees that were laid off, and we add to that constantly and use that opportunity to communicate with them and make sure that they're getting the help they need. Whether, I've personally helped some of our employees navigate the conversation with their landlords, as an example. So whatever we could do to help our team, communication is most important. But my team's in good spirits. We're all in this together, and they know what it is, but they are excited and they appreciate the feedback that we get from our loyal guests that just thank us for what we're doing every day. That's what keeps us going. Like this guy, say hi. You're on Forbes. Yeah. So, we get people coming by and saying hello and thanking us, and that's what keeps us going every day.
Wonderful. That's fantastic advice for other restaurant owners, other business owners at the moment. But how about some advice for everyday customers, all of us who are hungry at home? How safe is it to order delivery, and how can I better protect myself once the food arrives? What advice do you have for those ordering delivery or takeout?
Yeah, so definitely stay home, stay safe. If you want to go out for a walk, they say that that's perfectly fine as long as you're practicing social distancing. I see a lot of people going out for a run, bike rides, a walk. We had one of our employees walk down to say hi to us from 145th Street. He walked here to 3rd and 9th. And so, I think it's okay to get out and go for a walk as long as you're practicing social distancing and you're not really touching anything and you're washing your hands and not touching your face, etc. But ordering food is safe. If you want it to be extra safe, then of course you wipe down the packages as they arrive in your house. But what I recommend, especially with hot food, is you can stick it in the microwave for 20 seconds and you're going to kill anything. And that's what we've heard from the CDC and the WHO. You get that internal temperature above 165 degrees and you're going to basically kill everything. So hot food is safe. Another way to protect yourself, like we're not putting utensils in the bags. We believe that everyone has utensils at home. So unless they request it, we're not going to add that to the bag. So transfer the dish into your own plateware at home, stick it in the microwave for a little bit and you're good. With regards to cold food, they haven't really shown any issues with food, with this virus living on food at this point. Obviously, day by day, those things can change. And if they do, we'll tweak our menu accordingly. But, we practice very safe, stringent habits anyway in the restaurants as far as washing lettuce, washing produce, washing vegetables. My team all wears gloves. Now a lot of my team are wearing masks for their safety as well as for our guests' safety. So, I think it's totally safe to eat at restaurants right now. Not in them, obviously. If anyone's open, if any restaurants are open right now around the country, please close and ship to takeout and delivery. You got to help flatten the curve. But ordering from takeout is great, and you're also supporting local businesses and supporting the local economy, and that's keeping people employed and keeping people at work and giving us a stronger chance of coming out of this thing at the end.
Yeah, you mentioned the hashtag. We're all in this together, but there are other hashtags that are now tailored just for the restaurant industry, such as hashtag save restaurants, hashtag too small to fail, and hashtag too many to fail, because while you're all small businesses, as you mentioned, businesses like yours employ up to 11 to 15 million across the country. That's not counting the tens of millions along the supply chain. Those are farmers, fishermen, as well as wine distributors, liquor distributors, as well as ranchers, all the delivery services, all these adjacent businesses, right? So without all that being said, how else has this affected your suppliers and the larger ecosystem of the food supply? How can we save not just restaurants, but all the adjacent businesses?
Yeah, I think that, thank goodness for our truckers at the root of America. These truckers are delivering all around the country from coast to coast, and we wouldn't be able to, no business, especially restaurant business, would be able to survive without the trucking industry and the distribution industry. So, our partners like US Foods and Sid Wainer for produce, or Baldor, or any of these, companies that we might use, they're reliant on their supply chain, and we want to keep, the better we do, and the more we can stay open and order from them, which will allow them to continue to plant and farm and crop and raise animals and do all they need to do to sustain their livelihood. And for us, it's important, like I said before, we need to pay them too. So those are people that we're paying at this time, because they need to stay in business as well. And we are in this together, and we are too small to fail is a takeaway on the big banks from 2008-9. We're too big to fail in the auto industry. But yeah, restaurants we're big, but we're small as individuals, but we're big as a part of this economy. And so, yeah, we need everybody's help all through the supply chain to make this work. And so far, we haven't seen, there's a little bit of a lag time on some distribution. There's obviously the same like the public. There's a mad dash for Clorox wipes and hand sanitizer, and those things are a little more difficult to get. But they exist out there, and our suppliers have been able to get them. I mean, so we can still get them. They're in limited quantities, obviously, even for us. Just like when you go to the grocery store, they limit you to buying only 1 or 2 of these items at a time. We have the same stipulations placed on us. So, we're a little bit bigger and do more volume. So, but for us, we can only order a case at a time, which is just 6. But, something like that, in order to keep our team and the public safe, a case of 6 is gone in a couple of days. So, we've changed our sanitizer buckets to, instead of using quat sanitizer, we've switched it to a bleach water solution, which is stronger and more effective at killing this thing on surfaces. So, yeah, but overall, the supply chain, I got a little off topic, Tanya, I'm sorry. But yeah, the supply chain overall has been positive, and we've seen no real major problems along that supply chain yet.
A lot of chefs I spoke with are advising shoppers to stop dashing for the cans, still go for the produce, because it's really affecting farmers. Many of them are sending their crops straight to compost. We still need vegetables and fruits to boost our immunity during this time. So those
100%. I went to Whole Foods the other day, and the produce was bountiful. It was beautiful. I mean, the shelves were stocked. It looked great, and it was really, really delicious produce. Now's the time to get your pick of the produce that you want. You want that beautiful, ripe avocado? Like, go get it. Now's the time. And the nice thing about fruits and vegetables and produce, they can be washed and they can be cleaned. So you have the control in your own home to do that. So go buy those peppers, zucchinis, carrots, wash them at home, cut them up, make a delicious salad, roast some green beans, roast some carrots, roast some broccoli. These are all things that we're doing. We wash all of our vegetables and then we cook them. But if you don't want to do it yourself, we have all the fresh produce as well. So you could, of course, order from us. We'll do the work for you.
And what else can communities do to support their favorite local restaurants and markets besides simply just ordering from them? What else can we do?
Well, depending on the restaurant, but some companies have GoFundMe pages set up for their employees, although that's probably shifted quite a bit since the stimulus package has now added a substantial amount of money to unemployment, which is fantastic because at the end of all this, we need to help the people. But at the same time, that also flips the problem onto the restaurants and the operators of small businesses. Now, when we want to bring people back to work, well, they might make more money on unemployment now. So that's a whole nother thing that we're looking at. But, restaurants like ours, we have merch on our website, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats. If you want to support the Meatball Shop, we have some pretty cool gear anyway. So that obviously helps us. We have our retail sauce. It's the Meatball Shop tomato sauce. We have three sauces: tomato sauce, a creamy tomato basil, and an arrabbiata, which are in the local supermarkets in the Northeast, Northern California, Mid-Atlantic. So we're all over the country. If it's not at your store, tell them to carry it. We can get you that way. And gift cards are a big help too. So we set up a fund for us specifically. 25% of all of our gift card sales go to help our laid off employees in any way that it might not be money at the end of all this. They might be okay with money from unemployment, but it might go towards, helping them with rent or helping them with some legal fees or figuring out how to, put off student loan debts and things like that. So it's basically 25% of our gift card sales go towards this employee fund. And then, helping us help the heroes in turn helps us because it makes my team happy and it makes us feel like we're doing good. So, you can always donate to good causes around the country. Our Heroes for Heroes campaign is not the only one. There's a lot of other great ones that are doing a lot of good. We're specifically targeting the healthcare workers. You have a lot of other charities that are supporting schools and students. You have a lot of people that are supporting restaurant workers. You know, there's a bunch of those out there as well. So there's a lot of ways to support this community at this time. And really, if you think about it, a $10 donation from, you know, 10,000 people is a real number, you know.
Yeah, well,
I'm no mathematician, but it's a lot.
Wonderful. Well, we need some hope. So can you just maybe give us an anecdote of a recent interaction you had with a healthcare worker you served or a hospital you served, or maybe a local family with your free children's lunches that really energized you and kept you through these difficult times?
I mean, that I can give you a lot of examples. That happens on a daily basis. But I mean, I had a mother cry the other day at our Chelsea location because child hadn't eaten in 2 days. That's a real, you know, that's a real thing. And that hit me. Like you don't, you know, sometimes we take these things for granted, but you know, this mom, she didn't have Instagram. She heard it through a friend of a friend, right? Low income, you know, living in a project area of New York City, didn't know that we were having this promotion, doesn't regularly follow the Meatball Shop as their go-to kind of Instagram feed. But they heard from a friend of a friend, came to our Chelsea location. I happened to be there, and my team sees these all the time, but I happened to be there that day. And this mom, she broke down and she just was like, I didn't know where our next meal was going to come from. And she started crying and was so thankful. She wanted to give us a hug. And obviously we can't do that right now. But we said, you know what? I'm putting it in the hug bank. And when this is all over, you come back and give me a hug.
I love the idea of a hug bank. Yes. Yeah. Well,
I got a lot in the hug bank. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you know, what else, like I said, what else is more comforting than spaghetti, meatballs, heroes? At the moment, we all need a meal that we can embrace, but this is a great reminder to continue to care for each other. And thank you for keeping some normalcy alive and being really transparent about the strict hygienic code and best practices that maybe other restaurant owners might want to implement. Is there anything else you want to share for our followers at the moment, for our viewers who are either fans of your restaurant or overall just need some words of hope as they get through this?
Yeah, I mean, first off, you know, stay the course. You know, we will get through this. We are in this together. We will. This too shall pass. You know, all those great quotes of wisdom. But you know, if anyone needs help, if anyone has a small business out there, if anyone's curious about what they should or shouldn't be doing at this time, really feel free to reach out to me directly. I'll give my email address if that's okay, Tanya.
Go for it.
It's very simple. It's adam@themeatballshop.com. You know, I've been helping a lot of people with random questions from small towns around the country. People ask, what do we do in this situation? I'm happy to help anybody if I can, with, you know, a little bit of time on the phone, maybe over email, maybe over FaceTime. I'm here, you know, we're in this together. So I reach out to people that I need help with, and they're there for me. And if I could do the same for someone else, I'm more than willing to do that. So if anyone has any questions about how they can be better prepared or how they can, you know, do takeout and delivery better at their restaurants, you know, feel free to reach out to me.
My last question for you is, are there vegan, vegetarian options? That's the top question at the moment.
Oh, of course.
What's the top dish on the menu?
Is what people. This is one of those misnomers about the Meatball Shop, right? In the name, the Meatball Shop, it's like, oh, these guys just serve meatballs, but that's totally not true. I mean, we've been known since day one from our selection of vegetables. I mean, we have amazing vegetables on the menu at the Meatball Shop. We have butter and black pepper roasted green beans. We have honey, walnut, carrots. We have a lot of great side dishes. We have an amazing salad selection. And then from the meatballs, quote unquote meatball side, you know, we have our house-made veggie balls, which consist of about 13 different vegetables, completely vegan, and they are a base of white bean and broccoli. That's the main base in that dish. They're outstanding. And we also recently teamed up with Dr. Prager. Probably a lot of people know Dr. Prager, the brand of vegetarian, you know, veggie burgers and things like that. They make those kids spinach littles, but they recently came out with the Perfect Burger, which is their take on Impossible and Beyond. And so we actually do the Perfect Ball, which is 100% plant-based ball, vegan, vegetarian. It's pea protein and, you know, beets, carrots, sweet potato, essentially. And, you know, you could do that over vegetables. You could do that over a salad. There's a lot of ways that you can go very light and healthy. You can eat keto. You can eat paleo. You can eat indulgent cheese pulls at the Meatball Shop. So we really have something for everybody. And that's kind of always been the ethos of the Meatball Shop since day one, is a place where everybody from kids to grandparents can kick back, relax, and have something that they want. So we've continued to embody that over the last 10 years. And there's something for everyone here.
Wonderful. Well, Adam, thank you again for just bringing us behind the scenes of what it's like there at the Meatball Shop, what it's like to run and operate a takeout and delivery service amid this outbreak that's really taken a toll and had catastrophic effects, especially on your industry, the first industry to shut down. So with that being said, I hope everyone joins us again tomorrow at noon. We will have the co-founder of 3D Brooklyn on what it's like to go from supporting startups and artists in their 3D lab to all of a sudden becoming a factory for face masks. So we hope you all join us again tomorrow. Adam, thank you again. And thank you everyone
Tanya,
for watching and all your questions. Stay safe, everyone.
Bye, everyone.